So in this video, we're going to continue looking at our wavetable modes. Okay, so next up we have this formant capture mode. Now this allows us to create formanty style effects. Let's try one of the formant options from here. So it creates the kind of frequencies we associate with the human voice. As you can hear from that example there. So again, we have direction for how we want the waveform to be read. Now in this case, the second level control controls the amplitude of the second repeat of the waveform. If we turn the knob fully to the left, it will produce a sound an octave lower. You can hear there. So that's the formant setting. Now next up we have this ART mode, which stands for Artificial Resonance Technology. Now this creates a pseudo resonant filter. So we have three different modes for this: hard, bitty and soft. So hard is the most aggressive, soft is smoother, and bitty somewhere in between. Let's have a listen. So next up we have the direction controls that we've already seen, but we've got a new one here, which is forward, upwards, downwards, backwards, which combines the two above. Now the next option is interesting, which is this kind of body control. Now when body is selected, we add bass to the sound. Which really helps fill it out. And with no body, we don't have that bass added. So it's a thinner kind of sound. And the width control kind of mimics the resonance of a filter. So it's not as resonant to the left. It becomes more resonant as we go to the right. Let's bring the body back in. And that's our art mode. Next up we have Gorilla. Now this creates a high number of harmonics in the frequency spectrum and can be used to create quite extreme sounds. Now we have three different modes here: King, Kang and Kong. King being the cleanest and Kong being the most extreme. We then have a ratio control that determines the frequency ratio of the second internal oscillator phase. Pretty nasty. Now once again we have the option to switch off the phase. And instead use this in conjunction with the phase modulation. Or alternatively, we can use it as we would do normally with the main engine phase. Now the over knob introduces the depth of the effect. And the bend knob allows us to create formants within the frequency spectrum. And that's the gorilla mode. Next up we have random. Now this random mode allows us to randomize the readout of our wavetables. And you can do it in different ways. We have these three settings: fluid, thunder and divide. It almost becomes like a sample and hold style effect. We can choose from two modes here: pitch random and pitch switch. Random's kind of a more smooth effect, whereas switch is more stepped. Now this knob here, position jitter and clock divide knob, this changes the way that the effect works on the wavetable position readout. So it kind of acts like a speed control. The jitter knob controls the amount of randomization. So it can be more like a kind of random vibrato or much more extreme. Pretty cool. And then finally we have this jitter mode. Now this is similar, and it creates random deviations at the end of each waveform cycle. We have three different levels: J1, J2 and J3. Turn up the filter. And these also serve to spread out the randomization. So you can hear with J1 it's much faster, closer together. And with the J3 mode, it's much more spread out. Now again, we have this pitch random and pitch switch. Put it back to J1. So pitch switch again is that more stepped effect. Now the filter knob is going to allow us to filter out the high frequencies. And jitter affects the strength of the effect. So great for unusual effect sounds. And that's our oscillator wavetable modes. Let me just flip this back to the gorilla setting and let's choose a different wavetable. We'll go for something within here. Let's try this one. Now where these can really come to life as well is if we actually modulate these parameters. So even subtly, you can get some really, really nice movement in the sound. Let's try some of these variants. So that's just a raw waveform with the wavetable mode on without any filtering or noise or any effects added. Okay, so that's our wavetable modes. In the last video on the wavetables, we're going to have a look at our phase modulation section.